All right, so let me get this popped out. I have 2 days to go over. So I didn't do it yesterday. What's up, Egypt? What do you want me to wait? Let me post my shits. Yeah, it's gonna take a second because I gotta go through my own stuff. Okay, so what yesterday? I need to go through all this. Okay, I have to go through my. Okay, so silver's holding steady above VWAP. Gold is right at 4,500 in its value area high. Volume has died since open, but I'm bullish but cautious up here since this is where we rejected on both assets previously. Silver and gold charts. Okay. Main thing I want to look at on this silver chart is there's a giant volume channel here. So this push up off open, yeah, this looks great, but when you create all this low volume in here, if this starts to fail, it's going to flush very quickly. I called that out as well. So I was long on this. I was long here. I got long at these lows. I brought my stop up to the bottom of this wick right before the 8 p.m. open, and then I went break even right after the 8 p.m. open. I got stopped on that for break even. If we fail below VWAP, the sell-off will be aggressive through that volume channel. Very volatile open, got the sell-off I mentioned. Took a break even on the long. I would be cautious if you're trading metals tonight. Okay. Trying along on paper here. Trying along on paper on gold up to VWAP here. So the reason I'm taking this is we've recovered back above this lower VWAP band. I want to see this used as support. I want to see that return to VWAP. Volume's dead, can cut it early up here or hold with stops in profit. If there's a strong push through VWAP, look through for 4,500. This did push up to VWAP. That was pretty much a no drawdown trade. It was clean. Then yesterday morning, not bullish on silver till we're above this value area high at 77.7. Same thing on gold. Value area high is at 44.60. Metals are dead so far today. Stay buyers coming in on GC, about to break IB high. Silver also getting picked up some. If we get above 77 to hold, we'll look for 79 to hit. GC would look for 44.82 if we break the IB high at 62. Buyers step back up. We should move higher pretty quickly. Negative 370 delta, but market hasn't moved down much. This was yesterday during the New York session. Let me switch over to my regular layout. Okay, so this was yesterday during New York session. I sent that out at 10:55 or 10:50. This is what I was looking at. We got that nice clean pop. So pretty good commentary on that side. Buyers step back up. We should move higher pretty quickly, right? We had that negative 370 pop, negative 370 delta, and then we get that pop. It just took some time. Heavy absorption at these highs. Sellers haven't stepped back up. This P is brutal, still leaning bullish, but there's failed selling and absorbed buyers. Price is just stuck right now. Second I hop off live, we pump. Anyone catch it? All right. Then can see continuation higher on GC here. Would want to see price maintain above VWAP / hold it. When we tap it, still looking for that first standard deviation band to hit. Okay, we did not hold VWAP here. If I'm looking at this, right, we didn't hold this VWAP. This VWAP oh wait, sorry, I was talking about that COMEX VWAP. We did push up off that. I was talking about that COMEX VWAP in there. We did push up off it, but we didn't get that second standard deviation band tap. And then last night, would not be surprised if silver receives both sides of New York tonight. Gold is back below high time frame value area high, 44.60. Can't be bullish till we recover above that. Right at COMEX VWAP on both assets. Could see a potential bounce here. This was yesterday at 750. So let me pull that in. Okay, so this was during Asia, right? We get that COMEX bounce. We bounce right off that COMEX VWAP. This is on silver. And then gold, same deal. We actually dipped below the COMEX VWAP and then push back up. That 44.60 level, it's key, right? We tried to support there and then failed through it, and then we were just bearish for the rest of the night. Same kind of deal on silver, right? And then we did sweep both sides of New York. That's very unlikely that that happens. I can show you guys that stat really quick. If I go to the market session breakout, I want 6 p.m. and 2 a.m. And then I want Asia breaks New York. There's only a 1 point. Oh wait, this is on ES. I need to go over to silver. I was gonna say that seems like a very high or very low. Yeah, so 11% chance that that happens. Called it out. What is this website? It's profitable. Yeah, give me a sec, you said. Okay. 8 p.m. open in 8 minutes. Be careful with volatility spike. Finish trading today off the open. Just rinsing payouts pretty much. And then I also, on live, I took this trade. I was on live last night. I just did a free live. This was the trade that I took. Right, this is just paper. So I shorted up here. I was looking for these lows to hit. You know, I closed it early just because I didn't want anything on my chart. But this was the short I took on live. I'm sure some people caught that. GM will be live around 9. If NQ gets above these Asia highs, which is also value area high, I would look for continuation higher. That's all I was really looking at on NQ. We sold off today. Silver sell-off, aggressive sell-off. Think we're heading for the gap at 72.25. And then GC has similar gap, but we need to sell off another 80 points to fill it out. Don't think that happens today, but we could come down to the 4,400 level and retest. Our COMEX IV low set second on GC. I was looking for this to break the lows and continue lower. Obviously, we didn't get that. Buyers started to step up. I didn't really trust these buyers initially because this, to me, looked like exhaustion. And then when we came back down to VWAP and we had absorption of sellers at that level, that's when I started to trust the buyers. That's when I was looking at it. I was like, okay, I think these buyers are valid now. Where is GC? Let me pull that up. This was back here. All right, and I called this out on the premium stream. So this is why I didn't trust these buyers. We had exhaustion at this level multiple times. And then we start to sell off. This looks like it's kind of aggressive, but not really. Like, I'd like to see heavier sellers. We get down to that COMEX VWAP. Sellers run out, and then you have this big buyer step up. This is where I said, okay, I think this is going to pop. We started rallying and then headed higher. So I called that out on the live stream. And then GC stalling out at 44.60. We could still head higher for that 0.1, 0.2 extensions, but might take some time. Okay, so what happened here? Let me get my New York IV in here. Okay, so we were stalling out up at this 44.60 level in this region, and I was looking for these extensions to hit this 0.1 at 44.68.5 and 44.69.75. I was looking for both of those to hit. We were just stalling out in this region. That 0.1 did hit. I was still leaning to the upside here. GC hitting upper extensions, approaching a mil time frame value area high. We're also rejected from this area in Asia, New York yesterday, and London. So when I say this, when I send this in here, guys, I'm not saying take a short position. This is more so for those of you who are long. Think about exiting your positions up here, especially if we start to stall out. I was leaning more towards, and that's why I said the second one. Sellers have not stepped up in any meaningful way if you're long, bring stops in / scale. I was getting some questions in the premium chat. Some people were like, would you short this? And I was like, I wouldn't really necessarily short this. I'd rather get long on a pullback, right? So, let me see. Where was that at? What would make you short this level? Heavy wick, market structure, then reversals. I said sellers aren't aggressive yet, could still head higher. Is this a bad short? I didn't think this was a bad short. There was a CVD divergence. We should pull back into that IB. I said, no, this should be decent. The setup is there. Just need sellers to step up, right? I didn't trade because I didn't have anything to trade. If you wanted to take that trade, wait for the aggression, but you do sacrifice trade location. Same thing with silver. I was looking for a retest of 75, and then, I was looking to more so get back in on a pullback. Okay, this is the pullback that we got. If you were looking to take this short, this is your confirmation here. You have a big buyer come in right here, right at the top. That buyer gets faded. I wouldn't short this necessarily, but when we come back up to that level where that big buyer is present at, you have exhaustion at that level. When you're back up at this level and you have this exhaustion, you can short this here. You have well-defined risk, right? If you're shorting at 44.73, where's your risk? It's at the top of this wick. You've got 3 points of risk. You've got 3 points of risk. Where would you look for this to come back down into? You could target the IB high here. So that would be, 10 points? Around 10 points. Or you could target down to the, where was it? It's that 25% of the IB. This came right down to COMEX VWAP. So I would either target that IB high that's sitting at 44.63, or I would target down to that COMEX VWAP, which we hit. And then this is a very straightforward long setup. Will I trade tomorrow? Yeah, I'll be on for tomorrow. Okay, so those are my trades, kind of my ideas. Uranus. And then I also traded the silver reopen last night. That's why I wasn't really trading today, because I traded this silver reopen for Asia. We just had a very clean expansion right at open that came up and swept New York highs. So that was right here. I longed this. There was no sellers in this market. It was all just buyers. So I longed this and just targeted this New York high based off a stat. So I took that on pretty much every single one of my accounts. I don't normally do that. But to me, it was just a pretty obvious long. So Uranus, less is selling, but good absorption on NQ. Wouldn't be surprised if we skyrocket. If this hits stop loss, I'll go back with the peasants. Look, its job, not reason to sit around and watch paint dry. Okay, so this was last night on NQ. Yeah, this is just not moving. I don't mind this entry. I think this is a good entry. You're right in the middle. Your risk is well defined. It's just you have a lot of cons on because price isn't moving that much. Yeah. Okay. Let's go through your guys' stuff. There might be a lot in here, so this might take me a second. No, I did the 6th. I did all these. I think I got through all these. Did I do these? I did. Because I remember these two. Alright, Caleb. I think Caleb was the last one I didn't do. Loss, trending well above VWAP in the cash session. 6 p.m. reopen, came down and tested previous day value area high. Second standard deviation band, reinforced level. A very obvious bullish CVD divergences. Absorption, exhaustion, aggression from counterparty on footprint. Entry, never reached 1-1, so no break even and no scale. Stopped out. Minus 400 on top step. Okay, I don't use these previous day value area high. Or, sorry, previous day VWAPs. I just only use the reopen VWAP, personally. Keeps things a little bit simpler. So we're going for a scalp here. If we're going for a scalp in here, we kind of need to be getting in right when we're tapping into this band. Like, you need to be getting in as this is tapping into the band, like as it recovers back above. And then I just adjust my risk pretty quickly on that. So just a quick scalp. It's hard to take a counter trend trade when for most of the session you've been trading between the first and the second band, right? You can see this up here. Trades, between the first and second band, it's just bouncing between the two of them. This is a hard counter trend trade to take. And then when we do pop up, I'd prefer you just take the short off VWAP here, right? This pops up to VWAP and then it immediately gets selling. You can just sell that back down to the second band. This comes back up to VWAP again, and it wicks very quickly. Either of those I think is much more appropriate. This is a really hard trade to take, and I wouldn't expect to consistently take these unless they're very quick scalps. I understand the reasoning behind it, but it's just tough to take a counter trend trade like that. Called it quits after 2 losses. Okay, so we tried this again. APM open came down, tested weekly POC in third band. Absorption, exhaustion, trio and footprint, never hit 1-1. Okay, so we took another, I'm assuming $500, 5-tick loss, I'm assuming. Yeah, this is why, like these mean reversion trades off standard deviation bands, typically when you hit that second standard deviation band, you do return to VWAP at some point. I don't normally suggest you guys take those until you've recovered above this first band. Until you've recovered above that first band and it looks like you're holding that first band, I don't recommend you guys take those. I went over a trade that I presented or that I took in my commentary. This is a good example of it. Okay? So you're in this steady downtrend. Steady downtrend. This is the exact same session. This is the same session you were trading, Caleb. Wicks VWAP, more aggression coming in from that VWAP. Continue to reject below that first standard deviation band. Okay, then you come back above it. Now you've come back above it. Now I'm going to try this trade with that first standard deviation band being used as support. I adjusted my stop pretty quick on this. This was about a 10-point trade. Okay. I'll go over my outlook in a second. Let me get through trade review first. Gold continuation trade. We've been trending down and saw rejection from deviation band 1. Entered and trailed it tight as we got close to deviation band 2. Value area low before the pullback. I drew volume profile before the pullback upwards to see where the price would be going back up until, not sure if it was a smart thing to do or just me having confirmation bias. Did not want to get greedy for a few extra points and glad I didn't. Gold can surely reverse suddenly in any direction. Didn't want to take my chances under normal circumstances. Maybe I'll hold this trade longer, but I've lost money and my brain cells getting greedy for more, trying to build a base hit mindset. Okay. I like this trade. This is a good, if we're entering back here, I don't really like it, but if we're entering right as we come up to that band, I do like this trade. And just trading it back down to that second band. I would tighten your risk. Once you start to see those rejections come in. Tighten it to the top of that wick. That will cut your risk down to like $200. And then when you see this strong candle print here, you have this strong candle print, I'm bringing my stop to the top of that. So you'd be in profit on that. You can also see a big buyer steps in. You have a big seller at that second standard deviation band. So you have absorption with aggression in the opposite direction. I have made videos on Edgeful. I'm using profitable now though. 2.8R gold short. Later in Asia session, retest of VWAP, waited for 5-minute close below VWAP. Overall downtrend in Asia, also tapped value area high, target Asia low. What are your thoughts about the TP target? Looking back, I could have targeted lower, for example, prior New York session lows or even London session lows. My reasoning for TP was that I was targeting the current low put in that Asia session. Okay. Like that you waited for the retest of VWAP, waited for 5-minute candle close above POC. Okay, I like both these for confirmation. Here, targeting these lows, totally appropriate. But if I'm looking at this volume profile, okay, you notice how you have a channel in here? So low volume typically gets sold through very quickly. You could extend your target down to this higher volume node, but that's based off this price action in here. So I would go back into like a higher time frame. I would look at higher time frames and see if there's a volume profile in there that you can use to properly target something. You could also use IB extensions. You can also use standard deviation bands on VWAP for your targets. It's really like, what do you prefer to use? So we were shorting this. We were short in here. This is a great short, good identification of the trend. Where do we come down to? Well, I've got this volume profile that has been anchored from December 11th. This is where we're in for the entire range. There's a value area high right at 44.60. So if I'm short back here, this is going to be my target. My target's going to be that 44.60 level. Okay? I like that short though. Wednesday GC COMEX 15-minute warp trade, 5-minute chart. 15-minute warp set, purple box, price retraced to the 0.5. Anchor VWAP off 8:10 Eastern low candle. Late entry using confirmation by using the breakout of the low candle. TP at the previous swing high, price took out the 0.5 extension, missed me by a tick. I bailed on the close of the doji candle at 62.2. I'll take the 8 points. I was only using 2 MGC on this trade as it's an XFA, and I'm already up on the day. I traded 5 MGC on my Lucid Combines on TradeBait. Not pictured. Okay. So we're using COMEX Orb. I only really use the COMEX IB. This came up to what? I'm assuming this hit that 0.5 extension. I like these extension levels as your targets. I think this risk is a little tight. It's a little tight, especially if this is the open. Like this could come down, wick you, and then run to your TP, especially since you have that VWAP there. You're not risking too much on this, so I'd have my stop below this wick, honestly. That's personally where I would just put it, just so I don't get wicked out. Wine was bullish, but had a big imbalance below price, so my thought was on the day we would push lower after price sweeps buy side liquidity. At the open, price pushed higher, buy side liquidity, then reversed. I didn't hesitate once price came below New York plus Tokyo high. I entered and put my TP at Tokyo low. TP was hit in 30 seconds for 700. Okay, good stuff. Yeah, I like using those Asia highs. Those Asia highs are good levels to gauge if price is going to sustain and hold and continue to push above, or if we're going to fake out. So here you get a fake out. Good entry on this. Good identification of the momentum, and then we were just targeting those Asia lows. I think this is a totally appropriate trade. Good scalp. Short YM again, but in my live account looking for a final TP. Okay. Got taken out for 2140. Okay, I'll check that trail out. So we're just shorting this based off the momentum. I think this is a fine entry. Obviously, you could have a better entry like back up here, but this is after the IB. Or no, this is after Orb. This is after Orb. Your IB won't fully set till you're here. Yeah, because, okay, this is a 1-minute chart. This is pretty clean sells. And then you've brought your stop in pretty... this is managed well. I don't have any issue with this. Got taken out for 2140. Okay, so maybe a little tight on the stop, but I'd rather you get trailed out for $2,000 than have this come up to break even. I think this is appropriate because you're essentially, when you were back down here, you're probably up like what, $2,500, $2,600, maybe more. Your risk, when you guys are trailing, you still have to think about your risk. I know a lot of you guys go break even. If you're floating $2,000, and this is really good trails, if you're floating $2,000 and you're at break even and price comes up and stops you out, well, you just went from positive $2,000 to zero. Like you're risking $2,000 to make $2,000. You want that risk to reward always be positive. So this we were probably risking like what, $500 to make an extra 16, 1500, something like that. So I think this is a good risk, bro. Went long on NQ with 1 minute after it came down and rejected off the 0.5 and VWAP. Went for a 2-to-1 RR on this trade. Held the trade for about 30 minutes until it came and hit my TP. Okay. So we entered off this wick. This looks clean. We're just targeting these highs. I think this is appropriate. You could also target IB extensions on this, but I think this is totally cool. Yeah, we wicked right out of VWAP. Pretty straight setup. S-tier setup, ES New York session. I don't know what time this is at, and all I know is New York session. So it's a little hard for me to review that. Price swept under sell side liquidity, then displayed strongly to the upside, bullish order block formed, and was retested for entry. Stop loss was placed below the order block, with targets at higher liquidity. Okay. Price rejected the VWAP premium area multiple times, indicating lack of continuation. The initial target was the next lower low, but the take profit was adjusted accordingly. Okay, where's this? Is this your VWAP? Stash line. Yeah, so you come down to VWAP. You fail to have sellers under there, and then continue higher. And we're just scalping this back up to one of the standard deviation bands, I'm assuming. You also have a low volume node there that you start to reject at. I think that's a clean trade. Took a demo trade and kept taking demo trades to build consistency back again. We're going to start back on evals on the 19th. For this trade, we reclaimed above the VWAP, which is a good indicator. When we revisit VWAP again and buyers worked out a selling attempt completely, I entered long once we got that candle close and target PSC. Okay. Yeah, this is what I was talking about on the live, where we had that big buyer step up. Good management on this as well. I would probably manage this. I would probably bring your stop in a little bit tighter on this, just because, again, we're risking $1,300 for an extra $400. So I'd bring that up a little tighter, especially with the amount of momentum you're getting. When you get this 5-minute candle close, if this 5-minute candle close is strong, I would tighten it to the bottom of that 5-minute. You sipped all trades this morning. Options data on AQ, we came to put wall, bounced from it. Most valuable contract, then head to overhead. So I was looking for a bounce and just order flow for gold and silver. Trap selling, all trades were 1 to 10 R plus. Good shit, E-sips. Okay, we're using big size in here. We only have like a 10-point stop, bro. Yeah, you're insane, bro. Good entry on that, too. I got no comments, bro. Yeah, you're a fucking demon, bro. I know it's paper, bro, but still, that's impressive. That's still impressive. Okay, guys, that's trade review. Let me check the chat. I know there's a lot of people joining premium, so if you guys have questions, please ask them. I try to do my best to answer everything. I also, again, I want to emphasize this bit. Where did I post this? Emphasize this bit. I want y'all to be self-sufficient. I do post analysis. I don't typically post trades that much anymore. I don't really signal as much as I used to. If you can read into the context of what I'm saying, you could figure out what trades I'm looking at. Any of the questions on the live, I will answer. On the lives, sometimes I show positions I'm in, sometimes I don't. I think at the end of the day, I think you guys should be self-sufficient. It helps you grow as a trader. There are also 4 hours of content on the WAP to kind of get you up to speed with some basic volume concepts, stuff like that. And then at the end of the day, I'll post every single day. I will post a market review and updates. I didn't do it yesterday. I did not do it yesterday because I was editing something in this LARP Nation Discord. So if you guys want some additional stuff that I've posted, join this Discord. I posted it in the updates. So I've got some stuff in here. There's some videos in here. I need to update more of this section. I'll probably make updates to my own Discord as well, just with some of those resources in there. All that's for free in that LARP Nation Discord. But yeah, and then I'll be updating the indicator section. Okay. Okay, let me read through chat really quick. I have a question about silver stats. Yeah, what's up, Yusuf? Just let me know. Why trade NFP? I might not be on for the NFP release, but I'll be on for the day. And Fridays are free streams, guys, by the way. Every Friday it's free stream. Bear and I pass 2 funded accounts, making consistently 500 to 600 a day, and then I rushed. I was 2 days away from my first payout and hit the DLL, and now I didn't care what I should do. Should I just give it time to get men? What's your DLL? For the market breakout of Asia sweeping one side of New York, that doesn't start until 8 p.m. No, it starts at 6 p.m. It's better if you use the stat from 6 p.m. So, yesterday, I took it right at the reopen. And I can show you the order flow on that. On the reopen on silver. Once this loads, give it a second. Okay. On this reopen on silver, where is VWAP anchored out? On this reopen on silver, there were no sellers in this market. There's no sellers. There was some heavy buyers. They're not like super strong buyers, but was heavy buyers. So I longed this, just looking for that New York high to sweep pretty much right off bat. So that stat starts at 6 p.m. ESIP. Since silver broke above 76, does it make it more bullish for Asia session to look for? Not necessarily. I'll post a review and update of what I'm looking at, the volume profiles I'm using, and all that. How long are you planning on running at half price? Till I say so, bro. I didn't have a plan on. I didn't think that far ahead, Brad. I didn't think that far ahead. I'll probably cut it on like Monday. Do I use regular VWAP? Yes. HLC. HLC +3. I'll update the indicator section to this week, guys. I've been meaning to do that. It's just I've low-key kind of been stressed from like the last week of trading, and like my mental's been kind of drained. So yeah, I'll get to it. Naveed, spend. I would paper trade tomorrow. Also, what's your DLL? Oh, you blew the account. Your DLL was below the account. Give yourself a week. Give yourself a week to paper trade. Then bounce back. Have I made a video regarding Edgeful? Yeah, I have. And then let me check the YouTube chat, because I don't know if anyone's been in there commenting stuff. Let me see. All right, hey Baron. Yeah, it is a footprint. Choppy day. Yeah, that's a footprint on profitable. Don't quit trade trading really touched me, and I felt like you were talking to me. Thank you, bro. Yeah, that video, a little tough to make, but I made it. Why am I on this YouTube? Pull up my other. Am I logged out of this YouTube? Okay, I think I'm logged out of my YouTube. I should probably figure that out. Okay. Someone was asking about Edgeful stuff. I go through it in this video. This video, I go through it. I go through some stuff in this framing trades video as well. So. Silver long's still looking good. You know, my thought right now is we're building out a range. We're building out a range. I do like this end of day pump, but if you look at this on like an hourly, this goes for GC and silver. Okay, if you're looking at this on an hourly, we haven't come back down to this POC, which I kind of like. If we're going to break out, if gold is going to break out, it's going to do it tomorrow. I would expect the breakout to be tomorrow or Monday. Silver, I want to see this recover back above this value area high at 77.4 before I'm really bullish. But on this weekly profile, we are back above POC. We did get a close above there, so that makes me a little bit more bullish. The weekly value area high is right up at 79. So that's what I would be looking at. I'd be looking out for both of those to get back up. I would look for silver to get back above this value area high at 77 and then get above this next one at 79. It is a little bit weaker than gold is right now. Gold looks good. It's above its weekly value. It's above its weekly value area high and a higher time frame value area high. So silver hasn't recovered as much, but it's more volatile. So that could happen very quickly on silver. So when we sweep it immediately, what are you looking at for after that? After that, I'm chilling till like the 8 p.m. open, ESIP. Yeah. It'll be good, bro. Just chill out for a few days. If you were to pick which you're more bullish on, I'm more bullish on silver just because of the thesis around silver. But based off price action, I'm more bullish on gold. Yeah, you can still use fibs on metals. I just haven't been using fibs that much, Rocky. I'm gonna be honest. I haven't really been using fibs too much. I should probably start again. This profitable website, I have a full video going through it. But you have live data. This is market by price, so the data's not as accurate as something like Bookmap for order flow. But that will be added shortly. The market by order data will be added in there. This has reports like Edgeful does, but there's better reports in my opinion. It breaks it down in a much easier to read way. You can also save reports in here so you don't have to go and mess with your settings constantly. And then there's journaling like TradeZella. There's a risk advisor for your Top Step or your prop firm combines. There's a AI chat. So like you can ask this any trading question and it will pretty much give you a way to use it. And then there's also a free learning section in here. But yeah. The Asia break New York stat when Asia open. No, when that situation occurs, I don't use it. There's nothing for the stat to rely on. But typically what I'm looking at when you have a post-market session, right? You end this session. Let me reload this because my indicators aren't on. What is going on over here? Why do I have a black bar over there? It's kind of pissing me off. When you go into close and price is higher than your New York session high, typically I'm leaning bullish on that. Or like if it's bearish, same case. I don't know about Lucid straight to sim funded if you go live with the whole sim balance. All right, I'm gonna hop off here, guys, but I will see you for slow markets with Dakota. I will be on stream right before that. I'll be on at like 7:45-ish. I need a little break here though. Okay? I'll check my IG DMs. What's up, Milo?